Hi, and thank you for tuning in to this very special video. It is a long time coming. A lot of you have been curious about the very special guest I'm going to interview today, ever since the day I first came out and spoke about the cult abuse going on in the Nithyananda organization. You may remember, if you saw that video, that what sparked my outrage and pushed me to speak out soon instead of waiting and gathering my thoughts was that a group of my friends were falsely accused of drug smuggling. And I knew in my heart that each and every one of these people was completely innocent, and that the false accusations were made in a lame attempt at character assassination in order to silence them from speaking out about the cult that they also left. So without further ado, it's with great pleasure that I introduce you to one of my dearest friends, Marion Braun, who was known in the cult as Ma Nithya Puriyananda. So thank you so much, Marion. Great to have you today. And maybe you can start by introducing yourself to our viewers a little bit. Let them know, a bit about your background. Where were you living when you found Nithyananda, the one who calls himself Nithyananda, and what inspired you to join his organization?
Sure. Thank you, Sarah, for having me. I really, it's so important for me that I can finally speak up, after a few months of digesting what has happened, making sense of it all. I feel now I'm ready to share.
Right.
Yeah, when I met Nithyananda, I was at that stage of my life where I was rather disillusioned about all that personal development, business development, spiritual seeking. So I was a strong seeker for 20 years. I've done so many programs. And one of the key points was always for me that like the integrity, authenticity. Like if I noticed, no matter how much I liked that person, but if somebody pretended to teach something that they thought would be living and they didn't live it, I just couldn't be there anymore. Like there was a very strong kind of indication for me, this is not right. So then before I met Nithyananda, I thought, no, I have enough. I've spent enough money. There was still kind of this seeking though for the truth, but I thought, I'm not going to join anything anymore. It's like maybe the old masters, like Yogananda, he was kind of that person, that being that I held close in my heart, but he was not in the body anymore. But at that stage, I thought, no, there's nobody out there in this world who I could fully trust and who can really live what they are teaching. So at that stage, it was in June 2012. My daughter had met a lovely person, her to-be husband from South Africa, and she was going to spend the whole of 2013 in Africa to see if that would go any further and then my son said, oh, I would like to live in Germany for a year. This is where I come from. And I thought, okay, like I've always kind of encouraged my children to really do what they want to do, like not be the mother who's hanging on to their children. I said, okay, I will really help you. I support you. You go. But then the question was, what am I going to do? Living in the middle of Australia in the desert in a small place like Alice Springs. I thought, this is the opportunity for me to travel. And I was planning a whole year of travel for 2012 and thought it's a good idea to start with a yoga and meditation program. So a friend of mine was in Bangalore, and I looked around, and after lots of searching, looking, I found Nithyananda, and I thought, oh, this sounds good. I can start my sabbatical, so to say, of that year with one of his programs, but I was by no way in the mind of wanting a guru. I never wanted to guru, like I've seen it with other friends of mine, even in Alice Springs. And I thought, no, why would you give up your own will and even surrender any decisions? I could not comprehend. So this was a state of mind I went with to the cruise. So the cruise in 2012 was my first program.
Wow.
And yeah,
I mean,
it was amazing.
I don't want to interrupt your story here, but I find it so fascinating that you had already come to a decision within yourself, one, that you don't want to spend any more money on spirituality, and two, that you don't want a guru or to surrender your life decisions to anyone. And then you found yourself attending the cruise Inner Awakening in 2012, conducted by a self-proclaimed guru. And that program was about $10,000. So how did your life decision not to follow a guru or spend money on spirituality take you so far in the opposite of what you had wanted?
See, that program was first to be held in Bangalore for $6,000. Then I thought, okay, $6,000. It's 3-week program. They seem to be genuine. I read a lot of reviews, and I thought, no, that sounds good. And shortly before, so I'd already planned everything around it. And shortly before that, it was announced, no, the program is now the cruise, but it cost $10,000.
Wow.
And at that stage, I still had enough money. And I thought, this sounds good. I've never been on a cruise. It was kind of also something new for me, like all these bits and pieces. And I think at that time I was in touch with Atmadaya, the Mahant from Europe. And I thought, yeah, why not? It's something exciting. It's something nice. People have got nice things to say about it. And then I had can continue with my plan. So I planned, as I said, the whole year I had planned out what I was going to do.
Right. So what happened for you on the cruise? What was your perception of the guru, of Nithyananda? And what happened with your life after finishing that program?
You see, I when I first saw him, I thought, wow, I was impressed. And the first thing he did, he was hugging everyone. I found it a little bit strange, but I also didn't mind. I thought, yeah, it was kind of something nice. But I looked at him and I liked the teaching that he had, and he started to speak a lot about integrity and authenticity that fell right into my space. And he was really integrated, like to time, not to time really. He was late a lot, which lots of us didn't like. Right. And he says, okay, from now on I will be on time. And he took that on. And he said, I'm now committing to always be there for live satsang, for puja in the morning. I will always be there. And he was. And I thought, and he was there all day long, every single day. And that impressed me. And I thought, there must be something to it, that he's got this energy and be always lovely and smiling and kind. And, he seems to have always the right answers. But then at the end of the program, we were all round up into country groups and were kind of convinced we have to do coursing, we have to get people in. And I thought, I don't want to do this. And I remember grabbing the mic and said, this is like the Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't want to do this.
Wow.
And he laughed.
That's a red flag for you, even in the program, that rounded up into country groups and told that you have to bring people to future programs. You knew that wasn't something fitting with the spiritual dynamic.
I didn't want to do this. And I thought, this is ridiculous. And I actually did not do. It took me quite some time for my second program. Now, what later became the red flags also is this, humiliating people in front of the groups and screaming and yelling and blasting, how we call it. I missed that. I remember that Deborah Chance, who was also at the group, for some reason, I can't even remember exactly what it was, but he blasted her in front of the whole group. But I was so tired that night and had gone early to bed. So I missed it. I think if I had seen it, I probably would have been shaken also, you know. I said, what the heck is going on here? But I missed that.
Yeah.
So, then I went to my second program in August. Oh, one thing I wanted to say is one of the first darshans he did. He said to me, he says, I wrote to him something about some of my life. And he says, don't worry, Ma, I take care of you. And I thought, what? It did not make sense, you know, like, and I thought, what is this? But somehow, again, like how he has this uncanny ability to feel right into the deepest needs of somebody, and it must have been something surely was there, you know, for me, and it worked. And then at other times it's, oh, I love you, Ma. And then we had the darshan, the Kalabhairava darshan, the Akashic readings. And I can't even remember what I asked, something, what is my life purpose and all this stuff. And he was giving this very, very long reading for me. Like, oh, you know, like that of course, my life is with him, and that I would be writing a book, and then I would go bring the teachings to the world, and like so much. And afterward, everybody was coming to me, oh my God, he never does this, you know, like giving me that feeling I was special, like you're new, he spent so much time, that means something, you go ahead. And see, this is all kind of working in the subconscious, even though it was not really in my life plan, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But it kind of, all this stuff was working, started to work. And it was even more so when I went to the next program. So I think this is when he started to introduce the SNKT meetings, you know, and I look back and I think, what the heck did I do? You know, I was a person, I loved my freedom. I was, you know, making sure whatever job I had, I was freelancing, contracting, so nobody should look over my shoulder. And here I was getting involved into something with a strict structure, like where you have the Sri Mahans, Mahans, Kotaris, and Tanadas, where you have to report to the higher up everything you do. And I remember my Bhairavika Swami, she was my Kotari. Like a 20-year-old, I had to report to. I mean, that was something I was very difficult to get my head around. And I said, I can't do this. I can't agree with this structure. I can't do this.
And it's something that I hear so many people say is that, you know, they never want to spend money on spirituality or follow a guru. But when he gives you that personal attention and gives you an Akashic Records reading that everybody else says, wow, this is special, this is big, this is important, it's like something flips inside of us where we feel like we want to become that importance, right? And then suddenly you find yourself in this top-down authoritarian pyramid type structure that's far, far more restrictive than the corporate world based on everything I've seen and experienced there. And you're saying you had to report to a 20-year-old girl, Ma Nithyananda Swami. Did you feel that your freedom of choice in life was starting to get whittled away? How was that transition for you?
I think what also was, at that time I was in the ashram, spending some time there, and Nithyananda, he was having meetings every single day with us, sometimes all day long. We would be sitting around it, and I'm sure he did something, you know how he does manipulative stuff, hypnosis, and whatever other energy work he did. I started to fully accept it. I think now look back, oh my God, how did this happen? You know, and there was definitely a red flag when he first introduced it. I remember how he was laughing, making fun. Oh, now all the Kotaris and all the Mahans will fight amongst each other for people they have to get, because each mahant needed to get 25 kotaris, each kotari needed to get 20. And he was gloating about it. He was having fun seeing his people. And we had to do, we had to get so many people. And I thought, this is weird stuff.
Yeah.
So some part of me was still thinking logically. The other part of me was pulled in. So it became almost without, there was not a strict line, when did it happen? It happened gradually.
Right. And what was your role in the organization at that point? Where did you fit in with this SMKT dynamic?
So first I started off as a Canada, and I went then back. I was in Germany because originally I'm from Germany. My son at that time was in Germany, so I wanted to spend time with him. So I was there and started to build the German Sangha. At that time wasn't existing. So I was really successful. Actually, I was one of the people who had a lot of, I became then a Kotari, and I had a lot of Tenadas under me. So like under me, it sounds so funny, I don't really like it, but working with me, and it was still fun, all of a sudden it became fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this creating things. And then I went back to Australia and after that I did every single year, I did one of these expensive end of year programs. So the next one was Bali. There I met some people who were going to Australia. It was, at that time, their names were Baladara and Nirbida, which are now known as Pranapriyas. So it was clear, let's do something in Australia. So after that, when they were ready with their visas, we actually lived together and we were building the Sangha. And again, it was fun, like I enjoyed that. It was at that time thinking we're doing all something meaningful. Right. I've got people to share this. We were friends, we had fun. We were working together, doing stuff together. It was like family. They became my family. And now looking back, I think, oh my God, I felt they were such beautiful people, and I saw they were genuine, in their care for others, right. How they were spending time to help others along. Of course, coursing was always the main thing. Coursing means bringing people to programs, but I know they also believe they're doing the right thing. I was also coursing, believing we're doing the best for humanity, for that individual, starting with that individual that we could do.
Right.
Now, seeing after all these years, like how people transform in that Sangha through Nithi's influence is actually rather shocking and sad to see now, like how we know, like Pranapriyas, like particularly my Pranapriya, I still have that feeling for her because I see her and I see that beautiful being that I saw when I met her, and then seeing her becoming this person who outrageously insults people, blasts people, and I look at them and say, this is not right. Yeah. This is terrible.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the viewers might have already heard the names Shri Pranapriya and Ma Pranapriya because, other people who are speaking out against the cult have named Shri Pranapriya as somebody who used to beat others, like physically with violence. And, I first met him when he was going by the name Baladara, when he still lived in Australia, and he seemed like a gentle, kind, caring person. I never in a million years would have imagined he would turn physically violent. And Ma Pranapriya, I also remember when she was Nirbeda, and Swamiji, well, it's a bad name to call him now. I don't want to give him an honorific title, but Nithi. I remember he used to call on her in meetings and call her his sweetest daughter, and tell people in Australia how much he loves all of them because his favorite daughter is living there. So I can only imagine how much it must have felt like all of you were doing something really beautiful and creating this community. And
Yeah.
you know,
I
I've
mean, the one thing that really was also already a red flag was like his preference for some people. And the question was in my mind, if he is God, if he is Sadashiva, why does he need to have favorites? So like we were kind of like a family. We would always sit, watch satsang together if possible, because they also work. And Prana Priya and I would sit right next to each other, and he would, even in meetings, he would totally ignore me and only address me, even though I would be clearly seen in the picture. And it was hard for me because usually I'm not a jealous person, kind of, I don't have that in me, other than there is a real that there would be reason for it, but I'm not kind of easily falling into that. But then it was kind of, I was taught, well, maybe you have to work on your jealousy patterns, then you also get attention, and was all a load of crap, like he already had his plans for her. He knew she would be doing his work. She was the one, she would do anything for him, everything. For me, there was, even though, I felt I was so much into it, I was seeing him also as God.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I can only see I was absolutely 100% deeply, deeply brainwashed, because I could not see reality anymore. Now look, after I woke up, which was very quickly, I looked around and saw something totally different.
Right.
But at that stage, I was ready to give up everything. I gave, really, I neglected my family.
Yeah.
My son was only 14. I mean, yes, it was his wish to go to Germany, but I should have spent much more time with him there. I should have been with him when he came back. There were so many situations when I just wasn't there for him.
Right.
Like, I remember there was one time that was before the Nasik Kumbh Mela. That was exactly the time when his father had asked me, "Can you take care of Justin?" Because he had plans. He was going somewhere, had booked something. I says, "Of course, yes, I will come. I will be with him." He was only 16 at the time. And it fell in line with selling my house. So I was selling my house because I wanted to be with Nithi.
Yeah.
So I thought, no, this is all I want in life. All I want is be with Nithi.
Yeah.
So I was at the end of that finalizing my sale. Then I should have been, the last day of that being in the house came. And along came that date of going to Nasik. And there were these courses, like Mahayoga was the one talking to me. No, you have to come to Nasik, to the Kumbh Mela. That is most important. You need to complete with your attachment to your children. Nithyananda will take care. You have to trust, and always in my ears. And honestly, I decided to go, leaving my son by himself. And up to then, I had a good relationship with his dad. I mean, that was too much for him also to understand. So I missed out on being with my son for 10 days. And he was 16. I mean, 16-year-old boys should not be by themselves for 10 days. But Nithi was more important. So I left. And I remember that day I was all by myself in my house. My son wouldn't come to have the last meal in our family home. His father wouldn't come. It was, but I thought I'm doing the right thing.
Right.
And then after that, my son was starting to call and says, telling me he was feeling depressed. He was actually having depressions.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, I didn't even go to him.
I just
You
can't.
know, like it is so, it's these situations that they are with me and they are sitting, and you know, I'm done a lot of work with my son now and completing, and still they're there. When I think of it and talk about it, they give me a lot of pain.
Yeah. And I mean, an organization promoting itself as a spiritual organization, claiming to be there to empower people, telling you that you have to break your attachment to your family, that you have to prioritize volunteer work for them and paying for programs for them over your own children. That seems to me like the least compassionate thing anybody can say to a mother. And for those who aren't familiar with this cult, Maha Yoga was given a throne, she was given authority, she was seen as somebody that, for all intents and purposes, she was treated almost like another master within that Sangha. And even though Nithi told us she's not enlightened, he also told us that she was his voice and she spoke for him and she manifests powers for him. And we were told, really, we have to obey her. You know, she was one of the bosses of that organization. So when she tells you point blank, you have to be there for the Kumbh Mela, and you shouldn't go to your son, you should go to Kumbh Mela, there's really not much of a choice left for you. You abandon your family like so many people did. And Marion, I know you also spent a lot of money over the years in donations and in programs. How much do you think you've spent on the Nithyananda organization?
See, I started to add it up. Mm-hmm. And I'm feeling really sick now, looking at all the numbers, looking at how easily I've thrown all that money to him. Like, my decision, you know, like I spent money on the programs. I think every year I did 2 Radha Pujas at least. I donated a lot of money. I started to contribute to the Salvania Pita project. I also, you know, gave money to the Australian Sangha. More that was not so regular and was not these huge amounts, but it was mainly what happened there, and my decision to stop working because I thought I want to do something meaningful. So all in all, that had cost me 350,000 Australian dollars. So I'd like to stay with Australian dollars because this was my buying power. This is what I've lost, you know, like, and it was, I don't have much left. And see, I was asked over and over again to donate more and more. And then one day I went to the Akashic readings and I said, okay, I've got a small investment there. Is it a good investment? What should I do? And that kid, I can't even remember who now exactly it was. I think I went to twice and both I got the same answers. They says, no, it's not a good investment. Take all the money out and give it to Nithyananda. Give it all. And see, I was at that stage who says, no, I can't do this because I need to see my children. I need money to go and visit my children. And who knows if they need something, thank goodness. Otherwise, I would have given it because I thought my life is with him. I will be with him for the rest of my life. What do I need the money for? Just, you know, some twice a year a flight. That's it. Right. So crazy. And thank goodness but it's not easy now for me. You know, I'm 62. I have to start all new. My home in Australia was Melbourne, the Melbourne Adinam. It's gone. I cannot, this is done. Yeah. My other home was India. That's done. I have to that place in the middle of Australia, Alice Springs, what should I do there? I left 7 years ago, like I have to new place. I have to find an avenue to make money.
Yeah.
It's not easy. At the moment, I have no answer. I really don't know exactly what to do, how to do.
Wow. And I think, Marion, this is the human impact of the cult and the detrimental effect on the lives of people who give everything for it. That, as much as comedians have made a lot of jokes about Nithi, and as much as people make light of the brainwashing, you had a house that you owned. You had a great relationship with your family. You were on amicable terms with the father of your son. And as a result of this cult, you lost your house, you lost your home, you lost 350,000 Australian dollars. I can't even imagine it. And now this community that you gave everything to build up has not only turned on you, but also vanished, ceased to exist. So now I can't even imagine. Like I'm starting my life over at 34 after leaving the sannyas order of that cult. But there's no comparison. I think each of us has suffered in a different way. And your story is one of the most impactful because it involves kids. And, I remember there was a turning point for you during the causing for Mahasadashivoham. What kind of switched at that point?
See, I was always kind of known as a good causer. So I brought a fair few people, really great people. And when I cause, I really care. When I brought people, I care for those people. They shared their life stories with me. I really wanted the best for them. So I was still convinced this is the best they can ever do. They were very intelligent people also of influence who were already had their own followings in their spiritual work. And I thought, wow, this is great. We can do something with it. We can really build Europe. I was mainly causing, there was a lot of people coming from Europe that I was causing.
Yeah.
And I was also causing my own son. There were two things. My son had also, he had come now for the second time. See, my son, he felt he had lost me to Nithi. But he made an effort to understand what I was doing. So he came first for, what was it? Maybe Nithyananda or something. It was when he was 17. Then he came back when he was 19 to Mahasadashivoham, just to, I think, to be close. And I was told, if you get your son, then you can be a hall volunteer and you can be in the hotel with him. So I thought, that's nice. We can spend some time together, bridge all this time, have more time to exchange all that. Then it turned out to be different. All of a sudden, I wasn't going to be hall volunteer and I wasn't going to be a hotel coordinator. Yeah. So I could at least say, okay,
carrot in the interview, saying bring your son, and then you can be a hall volunteer and a hotel coordinator, stay with him. So you brought your son all the way there, paid for his program, I'm assuming. And then,
of course, I paid for everything. And I ended up being a hall volunteer because this is not right, but I was not a hotel coordinator. So what ended up is I had to, like many of us also, the other volunteers, really work our butts off, be the first person there, set up the hall, and be the last person cleaning up the huge mess for hours. We got very little sleep. Sometimes I didn't even have time to eat. Because during the program, I was also responsible, like making sure the tea, coffee, everything was clean, nice. And breaks, people were coming to me, telling me things, having questions. And there were no workers engaged. See, they got so millions of dollars is what Nithi took in program fees. But no workers were employed.
Right.
Then of course volunteers like who were not so, they said, I need to sleep.
Yeah.
So there were very few of us who said, no, we have to be there for the, and I can't blame these people, you know, of course you do need sleep. But we were only a very handful of people who were holding us up all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
I remember.
And you were part of it too, yeah. And then people starting to come to me and complaining. Almost everybody got really sick. My son also got sick. They was clear they were not getting what they were promised, like experiencing all the 11 dimensions and going to Kailasa with him and what have you. All this didn't happen. And people were so exhausted and sick and disillusioned.
Yeah.
And after the program, people were I was still in contact. I listened to each one of them and I said, write it down. I will make sure it's getting to the leads to Manyanatma. So I was sending a few of those emails, past, you know, the feedbacks to her. And then I was following up and says, have you answered? You have to give these people an answer. You cannot just let them hang. And she says, no, I'm not going to answer. And I said, why? That was a huge red flag. I couldn't understand. Why would you not reach out to the people who were so unhappy? And I know, like, we lost a lot of people, new people, old people, devotees, new people who were potentially enriching their countries. Well, I know we see enriching, you know, like, but and we lost a lot of old people who also felt this is ridiculous. It's not what I came for, what I paid $15,000 for. And we lost a lot of Adinavasis too. I can't remember how many. It was a huge number of people wanting to leave. And the leads, the organization itself, didn't do anything, didn't address it, didn't make statements about it, nothing. Instead, they planned the second Mahasadashi in March. And I just want to say, my son at the beginning, when he came, like, he has also a seeking, spiritual seeking. He's just an amazing young man, really, who wants also the bigger picture and the bigger understanding of life. And he thought, oh, I want to take sannyas. That was at the beginning, maybe in the first 10 days of the program. And I was excited. And I thought, that's great. If he's sannyas, I can also take sannyas because then I see him. My God, I'm thanking God that this did not happen. Just imagine, like, I would be out and he might be in, and all that drama, you know, like, there was a good guidance there, definitely, that this did not happen. But after that, I didn't want to do coursing anymore. Kind of, I thought, my conscience was but still I got, I think, 2 or 3 people to Mahasadashi Voham. And again, all 3 of them were unhappy. And shortly after that, I thought, I don't want to do coursing anymore. It's not right. I can't with my conscience really do it, but I still was attached to Nithyananda, you know, still to that organization, still thinking it's my home, it's my everything. Let me find something else in the Sangha. Then, so we are now looking at beginning, middle of, no, it was April 2018. My son, I started to get more and more worried about my son. I knew he was misusing alcohol and drugs, and I was getting so worried about him. Honestly, I was laying sometimes in my bed and crying, you know, and so much pain in my heart. So I said, I need to go and see him. Nithi was still there at the time, so I thought, I'll see him for 10 days. So I came, but so it kind of crossed over in that time when Nithyananda had left the compound.
Right.
Then that gave me permission. I knew he wouldn't come back. In my heart, I knew he had left. And I was happy, you know, and I thought, oh, thank goodness he doesn't have to go to court. They're not putting him into prison. They will kill him, kind of this stupid thing, you know. I knew he wasn't going. And I thought, then I'm going to stay with my son. Only because of that, had Nithi not left, I would have gone back after 10 days. And so
Right.
then I spent with him 4 months, and that was so healing for our relationship, for him, and his since has blossomed. I mean, of course, out of his own also, but being there and helping him through this really tough time, you know, where he was so deeply into this alcohol and drugs. He has made it now. He has really overcome that. But
to hear that.
I can't even see. And one other thing I wanted to also share, which is not really in my favor, but it shows how deeply I was into it. I always wanted to be close to Nithi. I thought all these young girls, you know, they are right with him because they are young. They are the future leaders. I didn't allow any sexual things happening there. I couldn't think that way because he was God for me. He was the purest of pure beings, you know. And I thought, I want to be. My biggest wish was, I wished I could be a Rudrakanya, you know, be there, dance for him, do everything, be the one of the people who brings all his teachings out. And I thought, give me a little bit more time with my children, maybe just a few more years. And I was going to do a Pada Puja in which I was going to ask Nithyananda to cut my life short so that I could be reborn in India with him and could be a Rudrakanya. I mean, it is even, I just want to say, even though it's really hard for me to say that, but what does it mean, you know, like valuing not my life, even my children, you know, even thinking of doing that to my children. So I always knew I would live a long time. I don't know, certain things I've always knew about my life. This is one of the things. And I thought, no, if I want to be with him sooner, you know, like it is incomprehensible for somebody who has not been into it. It's yeah.
See, I think what you're hitting on is that he definitely discriminated on people based on their age. He was an ageist, he was a sexist. There were so many times when he told us girls should dress beautifully, girls should be girls should wear jewelry, girls should wear makeup. And a lot of outsiders would question us and say, how sincere is your devotion to your guru if you're painting your face every day, if you're wearing all of this gold, if you're spending so much time on social media taking selfies? They don't realize that was his direct instruction to us. And to see his inner circle, the age range of girls who took care of him, with the exception of Ranjita, the actress who had the infamous sex tape with him, there were maybe 18 to 22-year-olds who were pressing his feet, giving him hand massages, taking care of his hair. And those young girls stayed in his room almost all day, every day. We only saw them if they came out of the room with him. And so who knows what was actually going on there. And I mean, I've alluded to this in previous videos, and people asked, you know, if you saw young girls going into his room, why didn't you report that sooner? And I think you're describing it really well, Marion, in that none of us at the time thought that he was having sex with all of those girls. We just thought, like you had said, they're young, they're blessed, they're pure beings, they get to serve Shiva directly, because the brainwashing wouldn't let us see beyond that. but who knows what was going on
Exactly.
behind closed doors. I know he sexually assaulted me, and it was very naive for me to think I was one of the only ones, or that this only happened to adult women. Now, I
Mm.
mean, you and I have a mutual friend who's male who has confided in both of us that it happened to him. So if it happened to
Mm.
women and men, who knows, it could have also happened to these young girls. And remember the way they used to dance in programs? They didn't dance
Yeah.
like asexual beings. They danced very provocatively, you know, shimmying their shoulders and swinging their hips. And one of the girls told me that Nithi himself had taught them those dance moves. So, I mean, that's.
See, it
Go
there
ahead.
were, part of me, it wasn't that I didn't that I was totally oblivious to it. I saw it and I thought, wow, this looks very sexy,
Yeah.
but then again I made excuses. Oh, he's beyond it, Nithi is beyond it. He's just enjoying the beauty of it all, or sometimes when we were sitting in the courtyard and all these young girls are just so being in love with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, so every now and then, there was a question. Or when he would leave, he would always leave with his entourage, or not all of the young girls, but one or two coming and following him. The question was, where are they going? That was there, but I didn't allow this. I did not allow or didn't follow these thoughts.
Right.
And one of the things also really a red flag was like one night when like we had to sometimes do really physical hard work.
Yeah.
And he claimed hard work is something that helps us to complete our patterns. This is important. So one night we were called to, I don't know, it was late, 12 o'clock, all come out and just log heavy stones up to the third floor of the 1,000-bed dorm. It was like building, so-called Mahasadashi Rohan office.
Mm.
And like people my age, I was one of the oldest, but I was also very fit. I am blessed with a really good physical strength.
Mm-hmm.
It did not bother me doing that physical work, but what bothered me was the young girls sitting around Nithi, laughing, flirty. Now what I see very clearly, flirting. He was giving them attention and asking them, go tell them to go faster. And I thought, this is so wrong. This is just so wrong. And I thought, stuff this, and I went to bed.
Yeah.
But I didn't take it further. I didn't follow through in my thinking.
Right. And for people
It
who
was
get the severity of that, like the Mahasadashivoham office was at the very top of the 1,000-bed dorm, up 4 flights of dangerous, rickety, crumbling concrete steps that weren't up to any kind of safety code. And what you all were doing, I was in Canada getting my visa renewed at the time, but man, I've heard this story from a lot of people, and it was torturous, because you guys were already sleep deprived at that time, maybe 2 to 4 hours max per night. And you were called out of bed at 11 p.m. or midnight and forced to haul bricks up these 4 flights of stairs all night long. And so when you Go ahead.
Yeah, we were building a chains, It's not that one person went all the time up and down, but still you have to lift these heavy rocks, give it to the next person, to the next. And then you also had to go down to make sure, like the chain is not broken and all that, that things are happening. But it was something I thought is very wrong here, like why are these girls sitting there laughing with him and he thinks it's okay?
Yeah. Right. And it's basically putting everyone in their place. Like the girls who are closest to him can sit there and laugh with him and flirt with him and yell at everyone else to move faster, but they're not really expected to lift a finger. And
exactly.
This is something that I've witnessed myself in the Adinam over the years. And I've been on both sides of that equation. I mean, when you're one of those girls that he calls close to him and that he's showing favor to, and that gets to go to the green room or his bedroom for these private meetings, at first it seems like a lot of fun, and it feels like, spiritually speaking, you've reached the highest height because you're right there with Shiva. But it's also quite a big fall, because as quickly as he pulls somebody into his inner circle, he can just as quickly send somebody out of his inner circle and send them, for example, to Sacred Arts Campus to do 24-hour manual labor every day, or to a branch campus to fight for his land grabs. And I've seen a lot of girls get really close to him and then get sent into exile. Like I remember that happened to Sadashiva Priya when we were both there. He used to keep her really, really close, beautiful young girl. She would dance on stage for him. And then one day he sent her to Trishulam Adinam, where the local people were rebelling against his land usurpers and pummeling them with stones and fighting them physically. And he was laughing about that, saying, see, I brought her so close, but I can equally send her far away. And it's like he wanted us to be constantly on our toes. And I mean, in hindsight, this is typical cult leader narcissistic behavior, where he wants people to be fighting and competing with each other to get close to him. And it's really clear that he used those girls on purpose to make other people jealous, because it goes right back to what you were saying at the beginning of this interview. When he first created the SMKT structure, and the Shri Mahants had to get so many Mahants, and the Mahants had to get so many Kotaris, how he was laughing and saying, now they're all going to be fighting with each other over people.
Yeah.
He gets a kick out of seeing people in a high stress situation competing and fighting for him. It's really sickening. And, another thing that's sickening that I'd love to talk with you about are the character assassinations he does to people who he considers his detractors. And I mean, I left the organization in August of 2018 after I found out that the kids had been beaten in Gurukul. But at that time, you were still there in Bidadi. And I know there was a flood of rape stories that hit the internet. I'll never forget, my mother called me and said, I am so thankful that you are out of that organization, because all the girls are getting raped. It's crazy. Why are so many rapists getting into that center? Can you shed some light on that? So, I know now nobody really got raped, but what was going on behind the scenes?
See, at that stage, I was actually not in BDD. I had left in May, end of May, just before Nithi left. But I remember there all this, around that time in August or whatever it was, all these emergency calls that the girls did, and the sannyasis, please help us, my life is in danger, and da-da-da. I knew, I saw it, and I thought, come on, this is so bad acting. I could see right through it, but still, like I thought, oh, who knows, what for? They all do this to protect Nithi. I took it as such. See, that is the brainwashing. You cannot see clearly. You see something, but you don't put it in the right place in your brain. I saw it, and I only came back, I spent 10 months with my family, some part of it with my daughter, with my who also was feeling really estranged from me, through that my time with Nithi. So and then with my son. Then I came back in end of February, ready for the Paramashivatva, so that everybody had to do this program, old and new Arinavasi. So I did that. And I come to you with these rapes also, but one of the things I'm just thinking, remembering, I had a Akashic reading. And that was done by Sri Atmapriya Maharaj in front of Kalabhairava at the front gate. So what he said to me was, oh yeah, Kalavarava is telling you, forget your children. Don't do that same mistake again and basically go back. You belong to Nithi. This is your place. Nithi is very happy that you are back. Or did you say Kalavarava? I can't remember. Anyway, either way, the message was the same. You are right now where you are supposed to be. Forget your children.
Wow. Literally flat out, forget your children. Don't make the mistake
forget your children.
them.
Exactly those words.
Oof.
Exactly those words.
That's harsh. And then, so what happened when you returned back in February and were told, forget your children?
So I took it. And I thought to myself, I didn't say anything, but I knew, of course, I cannot forget my children. You know, of course, I will go and see them. So I came. That was the first time that Nithi wasn't in the campus when I came back, and I missed him terribly. So I sent a message to him and told him, you know, all how I was feeling, how I was missing him, how much I was loving him, all these things. And then he wrote back and says, yes, Ma, you come to me, I'm going to call you to where I am. You just need a bit of training, go to Gujarat, and then I will call you. Wow. And I was so happy, and I thought, wow, finally, you know, I can be right where he is in his team, and I was ready to do anything for it, you know, like, and I thought, okay, it cannot be that bad, you know. The main thing is he wants me there, that is beautiful. I was so happy. And after the program, I finished the program, I went to Gujarat and was totally overloaded with responsibilities. I was made head of the coursing, head of programs, head of fundraising. Wow. Given a team of people who would, young men, you know, around 20-year-old brahmacharis, all Indian people, they would, I mean, not only would they not listen to me, they were guys who would not fit into Bididi. They would just not do what was requested. Then they were all nicely gathered, and was just my Bhakti Priya and my Sambhavya. They were really the real courses there. You know, the others were kind of there because nobody knew what to do with them and nobody wanted them in their team. So, of course, not much happened. First month was okay. Like, I did what I do, like be really integrated to the time, be there first thing in the morning, you're the last one to go, and make sure everything gets as done as good as it possibly could. And then I remember one night, the screaming started. I was called, you know, like Ma Prima was at that time staying with Nithi, wherever he was, and became head of coursing. And she started to harass me, you know, like all the time. Calls all day, you know, meetings you had to attend to, and even in the night and also stuff this, I'm not listening. I need a bit of sleep here. Yeah. Then I was called out of bed, you have to come now. And there was this big meeting, and you know, then the blasting started. Prana Priya, you're such a failure, you are ruining all the people there. They were good people, good courses, you don't understand what you're doing to them, blah, blah, blah. I was so shocked, and I thought, what the heck is going on now? And as much as I never ever enjoyed and understood how Nithi and others of the lead could scream, insult people, humiliate people in front of others or in general, there was also part of me believing or wanting to believe it's all for their own good. He does it to help to hit at their deep-seated patterns that I can't see. So I wanted to believe that. But when it came to turn the knee, I knew I had done whatever I could. I was not out of integrity. I was very authentic in what I wanted to do. Yes, you can always improve, that's no doubt, but there's no reason to scream and yell and humiliate somebody like that. Right. After that, my whole motivation went down. I didn't want to do I really struggled.
Yeah.
And I had that awareness. The whole thing is run by greed and fear. I don't want to be part of it. I'm not finding it inspiring. I don't want to be like any of the leads. This is not for me. I want to get out. So I wrote actually to Nithi and I told him exactly that. And I don't want to do coursing anymore. And he said something actually nice back, like getting me to stay. Some nice words. I make it easier for you. Don't worry. Please stay. La, la, la. Okay, I stayed. The next blasting started. And even before, what I noticed was kind of like Sri Pranapriya. I still called him, like I felt still close to him. I thought he's the one I can trust, I can go to. My Pranapriya was hardly ever there. She was so busy. So I was him. He was there most of the time. So I talked to him and says, can you please help me with, I don't know how to get the guys to do what they need to do. And he said, so who is it? And I named a few people and he called them and he yelled at them and he said, you have to listen. If you don't do what she tells you, I will break your legs. I took a stick and he says, you get a beating so that you like that you will never forget. And I stood there and
Holy.
I thought, why did I even say anything? I was feeling so bad. And after that, he said to me, like, here, use that stick. If they don't listen to you, they don't listen to words, but they will listen to beatings. You have to beat them. And I says, I'm not going to beat anyone. I've never hit my children. Why should I reach out? That was a no-no. I can neither scream at people and don't tell me to beat anyone. This is something, a big no for me. But then I thought, well, obviously the stick was there. It became clear that stick might not have been only used to threaten people,
Right.
And I thought, this is all wrong. So again, next screaming happened from my Pranapriya, and I thought, no, again, I'm going on. Again, write to Nithyananda. Again, he wrote back, don't do da 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 da, nice words, and said, you're ruining your life if you leave. So it went on a few times.
You're ruining your life if you leave?
Yeah. So then, with a group of other people, I was sent to Brididi. There, we were basically locked in a room in Anandapuri. This is kind of that place where Nithi lived, or the accommodation of the sannyas previously. And people were telling their stories, and I listened, and I thought, what the heck is going on? All these sannyasis were talking about rape stories. And I looked, and I asked one of the girls, and I thought, is this for real? And she smiled, and said, oh, it's an experience. And then my Pranapriya said, don't worry. She was one of the leads with Maachala, Swami, doing the whole thing. And she said, oh, don't worry, you are not lying. We are not lying. We are just standing up for all the women who have experienced this in the past by anti-Hindu elements. And then I knew, of course, it's all lies.
Wow.
All lies. And this did it for me. That reminded me of how I really wanted integrity and authenticity. And that lying, I cannot tolerate.
Yeah.
That was so obvious. And I think I have to get out of here. No, I didn't have to lie. I didn't have to lie because I had that immigration story, where the immigration officers were really totally unprofessional, were really treating me with a lot of prejudice, saying horrendous things to me, and about Nithyananda without even knowing him. And sent me back to South Africa, where I had come from. So I had this story to tell, which could say, well, this looks like being into elements, you know. But many of the others had to present their stories in a way that they were crying and they were screamed at if they were not bringing out tears. And I looked at that and I thought, this is a circus here, man. Who is ever going to believe this, you know? And then there was this young girl, I forgot her name now. I think she might have already been 18 or something. Maybe she was 17. She was not a young kid anymore, but in Godakol. And I think her story was real. It was heart-rendering, like how she and her mum tried to be with Nithyananda in the campus, in the Adinam, and the mum's parents were totally against them, and they had put the mum into a mental asylum. And she suffered for years. The girl suffered for years and years. All she wanted was be in Gurukul, be with Nithyananda. Now finally she was there, and so many stuff happened to her, and she told me the story. She didn't cry, she just said as it is, and I cried.
Yeah.
I thought it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Then, and I thought maybe you can, and I told her maybe you can do it a little bit more emotional. I believe, you know, I feel really touched by what you say, but maybe bring it out a little bit more emotional. I said, okay. Then somebody had seen it, or Panapriya or something, and she yelled at that girl, you ungrateful, plus something, you don't even love Nithi, you are only here for such and such. I can tell because you are not bringing out even tears by telling the story. Wow. And I thought, this is cruel, man. This is so cruel.
Yeah.
So the whole thing went over, the whole presentation. So it was a presentation that we had to make to lawyers who would then present to the United Nations to get Nithi back into the country, meaning that this is to show that everything are false accusations against him, and he would be what is called acquitted of all his crimes.
So they're trying to use these false rape stories, and just to sum it up in case anybody missed it, girls were lying and claiming that they had been raped. And when you question that, Ma Pranapriya said they're not lying, they're just speaking out for the girls who actually have been raped but who are silenced. And it's
in the past, you know, like the
past.
History of Hinduism.
Throughout the whole history of Hinduism, girls have been raped and haven't spoken out. So these girls lying about it are basically giving their voice to these past unknown possible rape victims. And what's interesting, Marion, is that I've heard this story from other people who were there at the time, and what you're saying completely corroborates what I've heard from others, which is that this is the level of the brainwashing. And see, one of the things I've learned from watching Leah Remini's series, Scientology and the Aftermath, she said that one of the biggest forms of child abuse done to kids in Scientology is called covert sexual assault. And she described the difference between overt sexual assault, which is being raped, versus covert sexual assault, which is being introduced and exposed to illicit material that's inappropriate. Is that in covert sexual assault, if a child is put into a situation that's highly uncomfortable for them. So hearing that girls were forced to lie about being raped, and that if they didn't cry, they were yelled at. That to me.
So I just have to, I'm not quite sure, like we were not working, like the younger girls were not in the room. I don't know what their stories was, you know, like I don't also want to say now something that wasn't. Right. So that girl that she was not, that I spoke to, she was 18, she was not a rape victim. Her stories was different.
Yeah.
still really very, very heartbreaking, her story.
Yeah.
But and all the others were sannyasis, you know, they were adults. That's what I saw. I don't know from
Right.
others, but even
Well,
so,
I
yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Anybody who wants to actually see these false rape accusations can look at the Nithyananda Truth Facebook page. And there were minor girls who made false accusations of rape on that page. And I've heard from others who were insiders who heard from the kids at that time. One of the most horrendous accounts that is a blatant lie is that Ma Nithyanandita, the daughter of Janardhan Sharma, who's tried recently to get his kids back, but they're so brainwashed that they're now falsely accusing their own parents. This girl claimed that she had been gang raped in the street in Tiruvannamalai during the Girivalam, during the procession around Arunachala, during Mahasada Shivoham. And I mean, anybody who reads her false account of this alleged gang rape will remember that first and foremost, the kids were never alone during that procession. They actually went around the hill as a group. And if that had happened to one of the kids in Gurukul, we all would have heard about it. You know, and it's interesting that whenever they make a false accusation about somebody, that false accusation always comes months and months and months later, usually after that individual has spoken against Nithi. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, Marion, if the same line that was told to you, that they're not lying, they're just speaking up for all the women in the history of Hinduism who have been abused by anti-Hindu elements, they're voicing those stories. It's really a sickening thing. And I mean, I'm speaking as somebody who is a victim of their false accusations. Sundareshwara Maharaj falsely accused me of sexually attacking him. And Priyamaya, one of the girls on Nithyananda's personal team, also falsely accused me of attacking her. So I see, and of course, those false accusations against me happened the week after I spoke out publicly about the horrendous treatment of kids in the Gurukul school. So it's like this organization, this cult, its go-to method of character assassination when somebody speaks out is a false rape charge.
I mean, and you have to wonder, why are they always using rape? And it's coming from high above. It's coming from the leader. What is this on his mind? Yeah. You know, that he cannot come up with anything else. And if we were even believing that, then you would wonder, why is he not able to protect his trusted the people in his charge? You know, why can he not protect them? I mean, that all, again, no matter how you turn it, it falls back on him. Yes. And that I cannot comprehend this. Why is this used like that? You know, and I mean, Nithyanandita, she even, like, recently, she said that the Shankara Maharaj, the Mahan from France, had raped her. I mean, you hear that, and I know straight away it is all false. Everything that is coming from every accusation that is coming from the Adinam, from any sannyasis particularly, it's wrong. It's lies. Yeah. And I was actually so heartbroken, because I knew I cannot live like this. I cannot live with an organization that is built on lies. So no, we have thing was finished. We went back on the train, on the bus. I don't know, over 20 hours, 30 hours bus drive. Now here unfolded another story, which is again raised so many red flags that were before. We were supposed to, there were 4 or 5 trucks being loaded in Biridi with things that were coming to Gujarat, you know, deities, furniture, what have you. These drivers were all, anyway, they were there and had to wait and wait and wait to get paid. Again, payment was so delayed for them. They were all Muslims, what I was saying. I don't know if it was done purposefully or what was the story. Anyway, there was a lot of, like, I was included, some other people were included in all this back and forth. What can we do? Why? Who needs to know to give these people food? To make sure the payment is better, because they thought these guys were coming. These guys thought they're just coming for one day, pack up and leave. Now they were still there 3 days later. They, of course, were fuming. And I thought, what is this with this company, with this organization, that they never pay? They never pay what is due to people. And if they pay, it's after a long hassle. Right. See, like, I've been to so many programs, either as a participant, a lot of money spent, you know, like many things I came as a participant and then as a volunteer. So many times I saw this haggling over money, this not wanting to pay on time, this arguing, getting it cheaper, or not paying at all. Like, I think, like, every single time somebody delivers something to BDD, there's always an argument about payment. And I thought, why? Where is all this money going? Yeah. And even when I was there, like for Paramashi Vatva, I was asked to fundraise so that we had some food to eat. Yeah, and I got money from people that I could hand over to the kitchen so that I could pay the people who delivered the food, you know, the groceries.
After giving $350,000 of your money, you had
I didn't give it. See, I also have to say, like, I spent that money, you know. It's, but what I've given is
on programs and donations and to get to and from the audience. Like, after putting $350,000 of your money into this, they wouldn't even feed you. You had to fundraise to eat while staying in the Adinam in Gujarat. That, to me, that's such a strong human rights violation. And I've also heard some of the, like, I don't know if you were there at the time, and I don't want to name any names here because I'm not familiar with the entire story, but I know that there was one of the girls on the bus to Gujarat, her family tried to come and take her back. And there was some kind of an altercation where the family was forcibly removed from the Bididi ashram, and the girl was sent to Gujarat and then mistreated there. Were you there at that time?
I don't know exactly which girl you're talking about, but I know when I was in Gujarat there was this like in Gujarat there was I was staying with the kids, so I was seeing a lot, you know. We were in apartments, and I was staying in an apartment with the older Gurukul kids. Okay. So we were 15 people in one 3-bedroom apartment, and we were sleeping all over the place. I was the lucky one, I had a bed. But, you know, others who were coming and going, many people were just sleeping on the floor without a mattress, without a blanket, without anything. And kids were not taken care of. I mean, nobody was actually there to make sure their hair is treated for lice, that their clothing is washed. There were piles, I see, of orange, you know, like everywhere, piles of clothes, dirty, unwashed, some washed clothes in between. And we're talking about a small apartment. Yeah. So some kids, really, you could tell, they looked really neglected. Yeah. How can you? There was never any time. There was just no time. They had to wash their own clothes. And when? And some kids, particularly, there were 2 kids I'm remembering, and both of the families lived in the ashram. They were long-term devotees. They had been with him for years. And these young girls, they just could not, I think they were in depression or something. They could not get out of bed. They wouldn't go to puja. They wouldn't do anything. They would not participate in any of the daily routines. And I thought, how come, you know, like, if that teaching is so good, these kids should be the shining lights for others. Yeah. Having people, parents who are in the ashram, who are supporting Nithi, but they are failing, like what I would see failing. And then this other girl, like one of the girls' sister, then also came. And how can I know? One thing I just start from something like, we had to also fundraise in Gujarat for everything that we needed, including food, everything. So sometimes there was also no food there, you know, like sometimes we only had something in the afternoon time. We finally could figure out how to make the payments for the food. And the kids, like the income that we were able to use was not from all the Pada Pujas, was not from the donations people gave to Nithi, was not from the land donations or anything. We had to have separate cash donations coming from people, and this would be coming from homers, like there's a ritual of fire rituals, and this is what the kids did.
Right.
So the kids were sent out with adults, and I was also sometimes going there into people's homes where they would set up the fireplace and the kids would do the whole Homer ritual. And then one day they had to do a new Homer somewhere at a very important, rich person's home. And see, there's never any time, and they never get really instructed well, and they mucked up. They didn't do it as professionally as you should. And these homes, I can't remember, they're not that cheap either, so people have to pay. That's the money, you know, we lived on in Gujarat. So of course it was reported, it was unsatisfactory what they did. And then the 3 kids who went sent to that Homer were yelled at by Pranapriya. I was in the room. Then there were other sannyas, other Adinavasis there. I think I must have been the only one, maybe some other person who did not get up and also yelled at me. So there's 3 kids. One as young as 13, the other maybe 14, and then there was Deepa was there. I think she's 18, was 18 at the time. And that young girl, you know, that's Nithyananda is her name. Like young. We're talking about young kids. They were sitting down. They were sitting down. The adults are above them and yelling at them. And Ma Prana Priya running up and down as if she was going to hit them.
My God.
And it was so terrible. I felt so much for these kids.
Yeah.
So one of the girls, Nanda, she started to cry. Then she was yelled at and said, "You are not a child. You are a superhuman. You are this, you are that, you're special. How can you cry? What a disgrace." Then this girl next to her, also 13 or so, she was sitting stone-faced. She was yelled at that she didn't cry. No. You know how unemotional, she wouldn't care at all about Nithi and all that, how ungrateful she is to be even in Gurukul. Yeah. See, all this stuff, I thought I need to get out.
It's such a psychological torture. And I remember from my own experience and from things I saw there, if you cry, you're overly emotional, you're acting like a human, snap out of it, be a superhuman. And if you don't cry, you don't love Nithi, you don't have any emotions, what's wrong with you, you should take this seriously. There's literally nothing a person can do in a situation like that that will please these people, because their only motivation is to break you at that point. Yeah. And you know, to put the pressure on these kids that they have to work to earn money to feed everyone staying in that campus, that is seriously wrong. That's child labor, that's forced labor, and then to go through.
I mean, I can only see from what I've seen, this whole Gurukul needs to be shut down. Honestly, those kids, I feel for each and every one, how they are brainwashed. And Nithyanandita, I mean, honest, I cried. When I heard what she was, I was one of the few who actually got that whole video that she did with that letter to her parents. And I felt my heart is breaking, you know, like That's not right. It is so wrong, manipulating young adults who trust him so much with their life to use them against their parents. It is just something.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to going back on that bus.
Mm-hmm.
So then I thought, I need to get out. I need to get out. And I thought, show me what else are lies. And it was like it was flooding. It was flooding to me. I started to watch that sex video. Before when I saw it, I thought, oh, it's so clear. It is morphed. Now I saw it for what it was.
Yeah.
Then I got other answers. I knew all of a sudden he never went to that pilgrimage for 9 years. No way. I just knew it. The numbers didn't add up. If he had, we would have not heard the end of it. That would be in his stories all the time. By now I made more research. I know he never went there. He might have had a day or two somewhere, or maybe a week, but certainly not for 9 years.
Mm.
Then the whole story with this Arunagiri Yogeshwara. Oh my God, it's one of his fantasy stories. I thought, I just could physically see it. And I thought, a young boy grown up in the temple, 9 years of age, he knows every nook in this temple. He knows that this is not a cave.
Yeah.
That is a shrine. It is not a cave. That was one thing. And then, sitting there for 9 months every day and talking, how he said others. So also, like, Indians are curious. They would always be around.
Yeah.
They would not see a shining light and Nithi sitting there and talking all day from morning till night. It's impossible. Indians would not do that.
Yeah. You're right.
And even if he was sitting by him and others couldn't see him, they would take him away by talking all day to himself. They would seriously be worried about Nithi as a young boy sitting there for 9 hours a day somewhere on the stairs talking to himself. So either way, how you turn it, this whole story is so fabricated.
Right.
So then I thought, I'm getting out. So we arrived back in Gujarat and we were told our new schedule, which was being controlled every single minute of the day. We were supposed to be locked into one room all day long, giving report minute by minute every hour. And I was still outside in a house, not there. Everybody else had already moved to that campus. And I thought, this is my only chance. I go, and as I said, tomorrow morning you come with your luggage. And I never went. I went back to the house, booked my flights the next morning, and that was it. And one of my suitcase with my computer in it was still in one of those trucks because we couldn't take our suitcases. And I thought, stuff it. I cannot go. You know how you have this very strong inner guidance.
Yeah.
You just know deep in your heart, in your bone, in your being, you have to get out right now. There is nothing. And I had it only 2 more times in my life before. And I always listened and was always right. And again, I listened and I left my suitcase there and I didn't care. I never went back to get my suitcase and my computer.
Yes, Marion, it looks like we've lost, oh, there you are. We lost your video for a second there, but I heard what you said and it's, I can totally relate, leaving your suitcase behind and leaving your laptop because you need your life. Your life is more important than your stuff. And for sure, your inner guidance was spot on to get out while you could, because what the people have gone through in Gujarat since the time you left, from what I've heard from people stuck there, it's gotten even worse. To the point.
Yeah, see, I wasn't scared of being physically harmed. I was more scared of, having to go to the interviews, having all these discussions and trying to be coerced again to go back. And then maybe if he says something again that gets me. And I thought, I can't even waste another week, 2 or months. I need to get out now.
Yeah, good choice. And then how did you feel after leaving? I know we spoke a little bit on the phone because, you know, we recognized each other as fellow escapees from the cult. Before any of us were speaking publicly about this, we were kind of talking behind the scenes. And then suddenly one day, Manya Natmaswamy posted a Facebook status update. It was on her timeline and it was on the Nithyananda Sangha Facebook page saying, internal investigators have discovered drug smuggling in the Nithyananda organization by Jordan Lozada and Ashim and Shreya Parikh and Vinuta Shankar and her husband and Marion Braun. How did you, so you gave years of your life, almost ruined your family, and thank goodness you're back on track with your family again, but for a while there it was touchy. You were ready to give up your kids, your wealth, your stability, your everything for this organization. And then after you left, they accused you falsely of being a drug smuggler. How did that hit you, and what happened after that?
See, first of all, I wanted to say that people came to me because I was known as a very sincere devotee, you know, a disciple. I would do everything, you know, I would be given my life for him. So they assumed I had spoken to you before, or some other people had brainwashed me, so to say, before I left. I just wanted to make clear, it just came, I had not spoken to anyone. It just came out of me, my inner being, my inner guide. I was just guided.
Yeah.
So then, when these accusations came, honestly, I was at the yoga meditation retreat. I knew it. I could see actually before I even opened. I thought I knew exactly what I would find when I opened my phone. So in a way, I felt prepared, you know, spiritually for it. And I was shocked and I laughed. And I thought, this is so ridiculous. Yeah. This is so ridiculous. How can anybody believe this? All these really devoted people would all of a sudden be drug dealers. Come on, who on earth would actually believe that? Yeah. Nobody. And I know a lot of people actually work up through that. And very quickly they realized they shoot themselves in their own foot, and they took that down. But enough people have seen, so they know it was right. But it was just so bizarre. It was so, if it wasn't so sad, you know, I mean, I thought it was so ridiculous. Yeah. They really showed what they are, you know, like.
And you're right, they shot themselves in the foot, because for me, I was shocked that my name wasn't on the list of drug dealers or drug smugglers or whatever they were accusing you of. But it was the very next day that I decided to go public about the abuse in the Gurukul, because I thought it's only a matter of time before they attack everyone who's left the organization. Now is the time to speak up. So in a way, putting those false accusations against the people who left has pushed the people who left out of their anonymity and to go forward to the public and say, this is why we left. Yeah. So, I mean,
after that, it was amazing, the support I received from people. Yeah. I mean, my inbox was full of people, you know, full of people wanting to know, really showing their support. And it was the beginning of something, you know, that there's something isn't right here. And unfortunately, kind of my closest friends in the Sangha, who I called my family, they all blocked me. And before one of my best friends blocked me, she wanted to know more. She was fishing for names, you know, who I had spoken to, who else is involved, da. And I said, and what exactly did you see? So you need to figure out. It only can come from your own realization. I cannot tell you. But she, of course, you know, just, and I said, are you not are you not kind of concerned about these accusations?
Yeah.
She didn't say anything. She blocked me after that.
Wow.
I mean, you have to see, like these people I considered friends. I would have done anything for them to support them.
Yeah.
There's no friendship. There's no friendship in that Sangha. Whoever sees it and still in there, don't think you have friends. There are no friends. Everything goes straight through Nithi.
Right.
If you leave, everybody will just drop you.
The moment Nithi gives the instruction, your best friends will block you and will call you dirty names in public and will make false accusations against you. I mean, I thought Jillian was a good friend of mine, and Jordan, her husband, Dhridananda.
Yeah.
The fact that he drudged up, some silly association I used to have with a bishop from 2013 that I've publicly denounced in 2014, the fact that he created a whole 20-minute long video slandering me, accusing me of starting a cult based on shoddy evidence, from that's what my friend did to me. And his only reason for doing that is that I called out the Gurukul for beating kids and for the child abuse. For the record, I know he himself wasn't one of the violent people. I know which teachers were violent. And it's they use this ad ridiculum kind of argumentatory strategy where he says, if Sarah says that the teachers beat the kids, then she says, I beat the kids. And I never said he beat the kids. And so they manipulate words, and they really cunningly string together a false narrative to make it sound like our claims are unjustified. And what they're really doing is they are proving that they have absolutely no responsibility for the quality of life of the kids in that school. Their first priority is to defend the guru, not to protect the children. And for me, that is the complete reversal and the complete backwards. It's the complete opposite of what a spiritual organization should do. If there's kids in your care, your priority is to the kids. And if you find out that somebody is saying the kids have cried to them because other teachers were forcing kids to beat each other, instead of saying, I didn't beat the kids, so nobody beat the kids, shouldn't you ask the kids who beat you? What shocks and appalls me in all of this is that people like Jordan and Jillian, Dhrida and Prasiddha, who are level-headed, educated, intelligent people, are clearly so brainwashed that when somebody, they both made videos back in the day saying I was the one who caused them into that Sangha. That means they had enough trust in me to follow me into a cult. But once somebody gets into a cult, the brainwashing that takes place, the mind control, the undue influence of that cult leader is so strong that even somebody they used to trust, telling them kids are being beaten, people are being raped, people are being molested. Another one of their good friends told them about his molestation experience by Nithyananda, and they didn't believe him. They said he's lying. They say I'm lying. When are these people going to wake up and understand all of us are not lying? Marion didn't need to talk to Swarupa Priya to get pulled out of that Sangha. Marion woke up because she saw the lies that were being told, and she saw the mistreatment to people, and she saw people getting threatened that they'll be beaten with a stick for not causing, and she snapped out of it and realized, wait, this is wrong. I'm waiting, Marion. I trust that other people are going to wake up. And I think that Nithyanandita and Tattvapriya blatantly lying about their own parents is proof of the Stockholm Syndrome. And as much as you were devoted and I was devoted, Vidyeshwara, their father, whose actual name is Janardhan, he was devoted. He was Nithyananda's personal secretary. He used to go for walks with him. He lived in Anandapuri with Nithyananda. He gave his daughters, he gave his son to the Gurukul. The fact that when he went to get his kids back, they attacked him with character assassination, I think now the floodgates are opening, and really soon. I mean, you said earlier this school needs to be closed. I think its time is coming. And I think people are going to get their lives back.
Yes, I hope. This is really, really my hope. I carry each one of my friends, of the kids in particular, in my heart. Of course, I'm not reaching out to anyone anymore because I know it's pointless.
Yeah.
It's pointless. You know, all they do is report you, and then you get silly stuff back. But I also hope, you know, it is like seeing like really deeply devoted people waking up. It's possible for everyone. I'm holding that for each one.
Yeah.
So, and like for me now, I'm out for 4 months. Yes, I had time to get the intellectual understanding, but I must say the emotions, the deep betrayal has not healed yet.
Right.
You know, that takes time. It takes time, and it's good to have other people out there where we support each other. But it is a process, you know, like I've never in my whole life either trusted somebody like that, nor have I ever been betrayed to that extent. So,
yeah. And you know what, I don't think any of us have been, because we trusted him with not only our lives, we trusted him with our afterlives. We believed he's the one who can grant us enlightenment and liberation, and that if we serve him unquestioningly, we are doing the right thing. We're doing dharma. We all wanted one thing when we found Nithyananda. I mean, I don't presume to speak for everyone else, but I believe we all wanted to do good in the world and to do what's right. And that innate goodness and that seeking was hijacked and exploited, and we were abused. And people who are still following him are being abused. You're right, that is the worst betrayal, you know. I mean, I've heard of other organizations, other churches are filled with corruption. In this case, it's not just priests who are corrupt. It's the very figure that we were told to believe was God himself in form, was a scam artist and a liar and a fraud, and he swindled money from us, and he sexually abused us, and he pitted people against each other and made people fight and made people beat each other. The fact that he is now absconding from his own rape trial and hiding out in South America when he should be facing justice, it's and I think one of the really important points you touched on sharing your story, thank you so much, is that when you knew that he left India and you knew he was running away from the trial, you were relieved and thinking, okay, good, because you want to see him face justice, because you believed he's God and they'll kill him. That, the fact that you went from that level brainwashed to this level awakened, that gives me hope that other people will too. So thank you. Was there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers before we wrap this one up?
No, I think we touched on all the main points.
Yeah.
Everything I wanted to say, I got to share. So thank you, Sarah, so much for giving me this opportunity to voice and reach out to others.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for being so open and for sharing with all of us. And for you watching, thank you for spending this time with us. And if you have any questions or comments, as always, you're welcome to leave them below, and we'll answer to the best of our ability. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.